Is it possible to get a film that was made for under $100 on Tubi? Today, I'm speaking with Victor Gabriel, who did exactly that. Victor has made several short films and is gearing up to make his first feature film, Hellmare. Victor and I discuss his experience with making films on such a low budget, as well as how he was able to get his projects out into the world with a traditional distributor. Before we get into my conversation with Victor, I wanted to make a few comments, and I will have the first question timestamped if you want to go ahead and skip over this little, I guess, rant that I'm about to go on. Most of the filmmakers that I speak with have the intentions on making their filmmaking a business of sorts. Their goal is mostly to make money, and I don't really see any issue with that. However, one piece of advice that I try to ingrain in filmmakers with my channel is that you need to decide early on what your overall goal is with the movie. Is it to make money? Because that's going to potentially dictate what kind of movie that you need to make. Are you just trying to get eyeballs on it? Which I know those two kind of go hand in hand, but you necessarily don't need to make money in order to get people to watch your films. Like obviously you probably make a little bit of money, but you put more emphasis on just getting it on platforms where people are going to watch. Or are you doing this purely for the art form of it all? I missed a few opportunities with other filmmakers to discuss this further, so I'm going to try to be better about that in the future. I mentioned this because I kind of learned through my conversation with Victor, and I don't want to say that every filmmaker that I talk to is like this. Like Tim Wolak, for an example, I think is another filmmaker who I think is doing this purely for the artistry of it and just kind of trying to do something cool and get people to watch. But Victor himself is somebody who I think is that middle section, somebody who just, wants to make something cool and just get it out into the world for people to watch. It's cool because it kind of diversifies the content a little bit on this channel. So we're not always just talking to one type of filmmaker. Like I want to talk to all of these types of filmmakers. Like I don't think I've met somebody yet who's just kind of doing it purely for the artistry. So it's probably going to be those first two categories mainly. But, I want to talk to a wide range of filmmakers as far as their goals, what their goals are with their films. Anyway, that's obviously a long introduction, but I wanted to mention that before we begin. And I also need to mention that we did have a little bit of a technical issue when it came to this recording. There is some flickering with the video, so this may be a better listening episode if you are kind of sensitive to that. Like I tried to fix it as best I could, and I didn't really notice it while we were recording just because there was a bit of internet lag, and that's not really something I would have been able to notice otherwise. But I did want to keep putting this out. Victor did say he offered to reshoot it, but I liked a lot of his answers on this conversation, so I didn't really want to redo it because I didn't want to lose kind of that magic of it, I guess. So I guess this is a good time to plug that this show, while I don't really promote it, it is on all the major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, and Spotify. So if you just want to listen to it, that's the best way you can do it. Or you can listen to it directly on YouTube through the YouTube Music app. Anyway, here's my interview with Victor Gabriel. I figure let's go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your filmmaking background.
No, dude, Alex, thank you for having me for real. Glad to be talking with you. I like your interviews. I like your channel. Um, my name is Victor Gabriel, and I don't know too much about filmmaking, like at all, brother. But I think it's fun. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you think it's fun. And yeah, it's just fun. It's something I've always wanted to do. I've only been into it like for the past year and a half, but like since I was a teenager, I suppose, I was always like, man, I want to make a movie someday. It was always just like in the back of my head. Do you know what I mean? But I never thought, my brother and I would fuck around with the camera and like we'd make skate videos, and eventually it built up to like he and I both making music videos and stuff. And then it was just like I had nothing really going on for a minute, and I was just like, I want to make a movie finally. So I rallied my brother up, and he was like, let's do it. And I was writing this really elaborate like drama, I'm still working on it, but I was like, dude, we should try to film this real movie. Like it'll be the first thing we ever do. and he kind of just crapped out on me because he didn't think I was very serious about it. And then I filmed a found footage movie on my own with my like $500 camera that I'd purchased like 5 years ago. And that was the first movie I've ever shot. And it got picked up by a small company, and that was it. And then I was like, we should try this again. And then with that movie, I showed my brother that I was serious about it. And then he hopped on for our next movie, which was called Blood Gorge, which is a 40-minute slasher. And yeah, I just always been like interested in horror movies and um, found footage and dramas and thrillers and sci-fi, pretty much all of cinema, really. But I just feel like horror is what I always gravitated to. So I made a found footage movie, showed my brother. He was like, okay, fine. We made Blood Gorge. And now we're working on something a little bit more serious together because he knows that I'm kind of like not really trying to fuck around too much.
So you were just talking about how you did your first feature film, which, if memory serves from when you emailed me originally, you spent $100 on that movie.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct?
That is
What did you
one,
spend that $100 on?
not including my camera, because I've owned my camera for like 5 years prior, and it kind of paid for itself eventually because it was cheap. And, I just wanted to make projects and music videos and stuff with it. And I used that camera. I had a microphone. My friend got me Adobe Premiere. He like just uploaded it for me on my, like, I bought a new computer. Um Outside of that, I bought a couple of like costumes and stuff. Unfortunately, I couldn't pay any of my actor friends because none of them are actors, and they were all just like, "Oh, let's do this thing." And yeah, I think I just bought a couple costumes and masks and kind of like threw it all together. My friend let me film it at their record shop, and I interviewed a friend who's like a real Bigfoot researcher, and they all just wanted to help out and be a part of this thing. And yeah, I really only spent like I think I spent $35 on a Don Post Halloween mask and like $40 on two robes, like a costume. And then I bought everybody some pizza or something.
So how many days did you end up shooting on that first movie?
The first movie we filmed in about 3 days. So I did like 2 or 3 of the interviews in one day. I just drove across town and filmed like this friend, drove over and filmed this friend. The next day I went to, they weren't consecutive days, but they were just 3 filming days. And then the final half hour was filmed all in one day. So we did like an interview, and then all the last stuff in the woods was all in one day. So yeah, it was over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, but it was like 3 days during the weekends. And it's kind of like, it's also not a feature. It is about an hour long. But I also must interject though. It's kind of like cheating. It's not like, oh yeah, we filmed this movie in 3 days. It's kind of it was kind of simple to do for what it was. And I'm not like touting this movie in any way. It was just a real learning experience that I needed to get down, to get more people involved, and to see if I could cut a movie, and to see if I could hold a camera, and to see if I could work on some music, and to see if I had any decent ideas. It was a thing to like flesh out all of this stuff. So when I say I filmed this movie in 3 days, that's not like a brag or anything. It's just more like each day was like a necessary learning experience. And so it sounds way more extravagant than it is.
Before we move on, I wanted to quickly go over some of the ways that you can support me. The easiest way is subscribing to my channel and watching my latest videos. I've also started a membership program that gives you early access to videos before they go live. It starts at just $3 a month on YouTube and Patreon, and if memberships aren't your thing, you can buy individual posts directly on Patreon without the membership fee. My feature film Cashing Out is available to watch on major platforms like Amazon and Apple TV, and you can even watch for free on platforms like Tubi, Plex, and YouTube. If you want to support directly, there's a pay what you want option on my own OTT platform that starts at just $2. And if you do watch the film, it would mean the world to me to leave a review on IMDb, Letterboxd, or your favorite platform. Lastly, if you're interested in my future film projects, you can sign up for my email list. I have some exciting new films that I can't wait to share with you all. All of these items will be linked in the description below. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the show. So playing off that a little bit, you've made a couple of more films at this point. How did your experience compare from that first movie up to your most recent projects?
It was like I said, it was like a really necessary evil. Those, the first thing that I did that I'm not like super proud of, but it. I love it though into my heart, just because it was one of those things that like it showed me. Most of my friends who are in that are in the next movie, Blood Gorge, and it just showed me like, holy shit, my friends who have never acted before can kind of act, and I kind of write things for them that I think they would normally say in real life, and it just makes it easier that way. And it's been a really cool experience to see my friends kind of fall more into this thing that none of us ever thought we were gonna do, and it got more people involved. I've had people reach out to me after we made Cruel. They were like, "Ooh, let me know when the next thing you do is." And then once we made Blood Gorge, like a couple more people started hitting me up on Instagram. Just, I'd like to work on a score for you. I'd like to, if you ever need anyone to hold a camera or whatever. It's just like some people like a lot of people who don't know how to make movies, myself included, have been reaching out to me about this sort of thing. And I think that's really cool. I think it's part of like the DIY scene is to want to just jump into something. So it's cool to have, more people want to be on board with your next thing, even at like big or small, mostly small, but that's great. And I think everyone is super valid in doing this thing. So it's just been really cool to finalize that thought, to see all my friends kind of like get better at doing this thing that, again, we didn't know we wanted to do. And to get more people involved, like that, it's helped me learn who to talk to about a couple things. And I really appreciate the first thing we did for those reasons, for sure.
So I was really impressed, like with your shot composition and kind of like, I really like the intro of it. I felt very, nostalgic. You can tell that you're a horror fan. But the other thing too that I really liked is that, it seemed like, well, you definitely did a lot of practical effects on that film. And we love practical effects around here. And when I say we, I mean me. But I love practical effects and stuff like that. So talk to me a little bit about the production process. Like, what did your crew look like on that film? Just because, like, I mean, I think it's possible to, you know, um, compose nice shots and stuff like that all by yourself. But it doesn't really. It's nice when it doesn't really feel like that. It feels like it had a bigger crew. So I guess lift the curtain from me a little bit. What did your crew look like on those films, and how did you pull off those practical effects?
What a fun question. Oh my God. I'm really proud of the crew that we had on Blood Gorge, because again, none of us knew how to make a movie. And Kate Braden, who did all the special effects, is my best friend. And she had actually she went to the Savini School of Makeup, the Tom Savini School. And it was awesome for her, and she got like some gigs from it, off, like not really on set, but she did get to do a movie as part of like a project. So she worked on a movie called Kecksburg, which is about a UFO crash, a real UFO crash that happened in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania in the 60s. Check it out. But anyway, she got to do some effects on like a finger gag and a couple other things. So she got an IMDb credit from that, and I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, "Oh my God, my best friend has an IMDb credit." And when we decided we were gonna do all these, we were gonna start doing more and more shit or start filming stuff, I was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And she was like, "Hell yeah, why the hell?" Like, of course. So it was just, I got to work with my brother, my best friend, she's also in the movie, my fiance, and then like 5 of just my close friends from the area. So that was it. Like our whole crew was everyone that's in the movie. My brother he was our director of photography, so he was just behind the camera the whole time. And I made sure to drop a couple bucks on like, just a really nice shotgun mic. That's all we used. So he was just working sound and video the whole time. And I had an idea of how I wanted to do pretty much all the shots. they were all in my head because I'm not really a good storyboardist. My friend Justin flew in from Atlanta, and he went to film school to write movies and stuff, and to kind of do production stuff. And again, I don't think he's ever really worked on a movie, but again, none of us really have. And it was just a really collaborative effort, and it was um, we all did everything. Like, there's so much more that every single person did other shit, besides being in the movie. It was like Maddie helped us out find a couple locations like last minute. Ali was helping with like productions, like stuff at the house. Like, we were all just working on doing something else. And Justin, our killer in the movie, also he just had a lot of knowledge to share with all of us. So it was just really cool. I mean, like, I might not have taken as much into consideration as I should have, but we were working on like such a finite amount of time that I I had like an idea, and I just wanted to get it on paper. And so when people were kind of like, when Justin would be like, "Oh, we should try this or we should try this," I'd be like, I want to. We just don't got time next time. So Justin's coming back for our next movie. Shit like that, but very small crew. 8 of us max, and only like 4 or 5 of us on set any given day.
So, with a follow up to that, with that in mind, like, did you use any sort of specific techniques or anything like that to make your films feel less kind of like they definitely do have kind of like that close, low budget feel, but not so low budget that it's like, okay, like, a bunch of, 5-year-olds made this movie for lack of better words. Like, did you guys use any specific techniques to kind of just make it feel a lot bigger?
Nothing intentional, but thank you, by the way, because I do think Blood Gorge feels and looks different than a typical $600 movie, because that's what we spent on that one. But yeah, Kate, just having a really good makeup person and having a really good, just since we're all good friends, I feel like, you know, the acting wasn't terrible for that sake because we're all communicating with one another. And so it's just kind of like a chill vibe, you know what I mean? So I think between us actually knowing each other, between Kate's great special effects, and between my brother's really good eye for just photography. He's also a photographer, so he kind of just knows where to put a camera. So when I say, like, bro, I need Ali's gonna come bursting through the door, and you need to like do like do one of these, he just instantly knew what I was talking about, even though he has no storyboards, no idea what the hell I'm saying in the moment, but we figured it out pretty quick. So Vince just has a really good eye, and they're all just super talented people. So I do think Blood Gorge looks a little bit bigger than it actually is, but we also got lucky with locations. I could say that. The video store we shot in, the barn, and like the spook house at the end. We just got to film at some really cool spots for free. So I think that really helped make give the production value a little flair.
For you personally, what has changed about your filmmaking process since your beginning projects?
I mean, the first movie I filmed was like a year and a half ago, and it was just so bare bones and low budget. And it's so funny to see Blood Gorge look a million times better, but we didn't really change too much, I just brought my brother on, and we had a couple of different ideas that were a little bit more set in stone than the first thing. And now with this one, our next movie that we're planning, Hellmare, it's like I'm planning this thing like 6 months in advance, which is not something I've done for either of any of our other projects. So now we're still like 3.5 months out until filming, and I'm still like working on locations. I'm still finalizing actors, and I'm still, like finalizing parts of the script and stuff like that. But I still have a lot more time than I even had collectively for any of the other projects. So I'm still working on like time management, but I think that's probably it, is time management. I've given myself far more time for this next project than anything else we've done. A lot of that stuff was just done over a weekend, and with not very much planning whatsoever. And it's not to say that like I don't want to be doing planning and that I don't want to be focused on this thing. It's just I think sometimes I work better when it's like I have a test due tomorrow and I didn't study, until 2 a.m. the night prior. Is just kind of how I always work throughout my life, throughout school, throughout like playing music, throughout whatever it was. It was just like I'll put it off until the bare moment, and then whatever happens is like that's that spark of what it's gonna be. But this time I'm just allowing myself to be a little bit more prepared because I kind of want this to be, it's our first feature film now. And so I just want us to be like focused. And if no one else can be focused if I'm not working on it or if I'm not planning correctly. So time management is definitely the thing that's changed since project one to where we are now, a little less than 2 years later.
One thing I really wanted to ask you about, I'm really curious. Like, I know you're about to work on your first feature film, but your current films are short films, although the run times are kind of getting up to feature length. So I'm really curious why you chose to make longer short films in lieu of making shorter ones.
I really don't know, bro. I think since my brother and I had been doing music videos, and we've done the 3 minute long somethings, over and over and over. Blood Gorge was supposed to be about an hour long, and I think that would have just made it feel a little bit more like a movie than it actually was. So if it was supposed to be longer, it was supposed to be closer to feature length. But we had some time constraints, and again, I wasn't planned enough, so it was like that weird awkward space where it's like we could maybe get it to 60, 65 minutes, and maybe Tubi will have it up. But I don't know. I just it's funny enough. We talked about doing shorts after I had already filmed Cruel, which is an hour long, and even after we filmed Blood Gorge, we're like maybe we should do like a 10-minute short just to kind of keep the ball rolling. But I thought instead of doing that, I'll just put all my time and energy and resources into making it, finally doing our feature film. So it was just a timing thing. I think we just wanted to make a movie and fell a little short as opposed to wanting to make a short and going over. We kind of like we were just really ambitious in what we wanted to do. And a short just wasn't what we wanted to do at the moment.
I too did work with friends and family. So for those, I've talked a little bit about this on the channel before, but when I was 20 years old, I attempted to make my first feature film, which was a found footage horror movie. So I gathered up friends and family who were willing to work on the project. Didn't have a script, didn't have anything, just had my little, I was shooting on DV tapes back then, had my little DV tape camera and just some people who were willing to do it. And we shot for probably 2 days and everybody gave up. So friends and family are not, yeah, they're not always the most reliable. So I'm curious, two questions here. Since you've worked closely with your friends and family, how do you keep a professional atmosphere and how have you been able to keep people around to finish your projects?
Our short filming space, it's like, dude, just give me 3 or 4 days so we can do this thing. And everyone's like, okay. They sign on ahead of time. So it's like, if I was like, oh, I'll hit you up, 2 weeks from now. Because I've also been like an actor in a couple other friends' movies and stuff. And my friend, a friend of mine, Matt, he hit up me and my fiance and he's like, come do this scene or whatever. And we're like, all right. And then he's like, oh, hey, I need you again in 2 weeks. And it's like, God damn it. And he's like, hey, can I just get Laura for this one final scene? And we're just like, bro, when is this gonna end? Like, like, thank you for inviting us, but and we finished it, whatever. But I just couldn't imagine doing that to other people. I think I just want to work on a concise time frame and just get it done. Also, I just, I barely get to see my friends, and so when we're like, oh, let's film a dumb movie, they're all just like, "Ooh, cool," and then it becomes like a hangout, you know? It's not it's like a no pressure situation. No one's getting paid. I'm not getting paid. We're not making money, but it's like a thing that I want to do to kinda like bring us all up to a certain level, even if it's just mid-tier or low tier or whatever. It's just anything's better than no tier. So we're just working towards something cool, and I think everyone kind of sees the vision a little bit. My friends Ali and Maddie, they actually got roles in another movie filmed in the area because of Blood Gorge. And Kate, who did our special effects because of Blood Gorge, got to film the movie out in California after the fact. She worked with a little bit bigger of a budget. Like they gave her a couple $1,000s to work, to go out and film in California. For her budget for making all the prosthetics was alone way bigger than our budget for Blood Gorge. So it's just been cool to see everybody who worked on these things get more and more things, even like big or small, and I working with a small crew and a short time frame has just really helped keep it punchy. But I'm super indebted to all of them: CJ, Ali, Maddie, Justin, Kate, Laura, Vince, everyone.
So you got your first film distributed with a traditional distributor, which is obviously amazing considering that, you pretty much spent no money on it. So can you talk to me a little bit about that experience?
I'm very flattered that anyone decided to put out my first movie. I didn't expect people to want to do that, and so I feel like I put myself in like all my eggs in a basket type of situation. I'm not mad that I did it, because it helped promote our next thing, Blood Gorge, and then more and more legitimate physical media distributors and stuff wanted it or did put it out. And so it was like a stepping stool, you know what I mean? Stepping stone, rather. And I really appreciate them for it. And it's like streaming on all these like platforms. It's kind of cool to say like, hey, we have a movie on like Tubi and Amazon and like Screenbox and all these like things. And it's never ever been about like making money or anything, but it's really cool to see our movie in a few places and to see some people say some nice things about it and to see little ad slicks in magazines and stuff. So I appreciate them for that. And then we got to keep the physical media rights for that one, Cruel. So we got to put it out on Blu-ray, and I've been making like VHS tapes for it, and it's just been kind of cool to like have our own domain of the physical media release, and they can stream it for us.
How did they approach you, or did you end up approaching them?
I remember I was seeing I'm a big horror movie fan, and so some days I'd just like watch, on a rainy or snowy day up here. Especially years ago, especially during COVID. And I kept seeing their name pop up on more and more modern movies, and I just emailed them. They had a contact thing on their website. I emailed a couple other companies, and they were like saying they were interested. They were like, "Oh, can you make it longer?" And I was just like, "No, this is what I got right now. It's not really like I was trying to be as professional as possible and saying like I'm not a real filmmaker, But Terra Films said, "Hey, this would be a perfect fit," and I was like, "What the hell? Like, why?" But thank you. And so, it was just I reached out to them. I reached out to like 5 or 6 people that and they actually responded almost right away. I think at the time they were just looking for content, you know what I mean, and not like great movies, and I understand that fully. Um, because they do put out great movies, but also they're looking to stay relevant. And I understand that that's what a business has to do. And I feel like a cog in the machine as that filler space, that content space, you know what I mean? I'm sure that that's how anybody who's watched that movie might see it, but I've had a handful of people reach out and say that they really enjoyed it. So to me, that kind of balances out. It takes the edge off of feeling like that brick in the wall. I've heard Guillermo del Toro say, companies are looking for content for their timeline, and that's sewage language. Like content and pipeline are just like that shouldn't be relevant relative to artwork. And that's kind of how I felt about it when I first signed it away, and I just didn't think I was getting the things that they were saying they were doing for it. But a couple of cool things did come out of it, so I'm not mad about it, you know? But I just don't want to be content anymore, you know? So I think that's why I'm trying to focus a little bit more on our first feature film. I don't want it to be content. I want it to be something that like people would want to rewatch. Not everyone, but if people are like, "Yo, that was really fun. Can't wait to put that on during Halloween or whatever," that would just make my little black heart sing. So I just don't think I want to do the content game anymore.
So a follow up there then. Did you get a distributor for Blood Gorge, and are you planning with your feature film to find any sort of distribution with it?
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, no, the idea, I'm like really punching high for Helmer. There's a couple people I really want to reach out to once it's done. There's a few people I briefed on it early on, and you know, we have a couple of we have a very credible actor and a couple other like actors that are going to participate from the area. And so I'm hoping, you know, that with these people in mind, well, in the film and with the way we're planning on filming it and it being far more legitimate than anything we've done previous, I'm really hoping that it'll look and feel like an authentic movie and not just a low budget movie. Blood Gorge did get distribution, and it's going to be streaming actually in about a week or two. Again, it's like one of those things that like, you know, it'll just be on the platforms and I don't know where yet, but it's also got a Blu-ray and VHS release from a company called Future Video. And outside of that, we put out our own DVDs because I just like making stuff like that. I like having domain of our own films, so I'll make tapes and DVDs of these things. A company called Toxic Filth did 100 copies in America, and then a company called Uncut TV did 500 copies in Europe. They're from Austria. So it's definitely got like, there's 800 or 900 VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray floating around there somewhere of this movie. Hopefully more in the near future, but it'll be streaming soon. And yeah, with Helmer, I'm really punching a little bit higher. So we'll see how it goes.
You're actually the first filmmaker I talked to who has done their own physical release. I also did my own physical release of Cashing Out, so I'm glad that I'm able to finally talk to somebody about it because I need to know some secrets because I did some really backdoor ways of doing things that I don't think I can do now in order to produce, you know, a Blu-ray or a DVD. So can you talk to me a little bit about your process? Like, how did you end up, you know, creating the disc? How did you end up authoring it? Like, what tools did you use to make that happen?
I remember listening to your episode where you talked about doing the whole thing for Cashing Out and like authoring and stuff. And honestly, it's a world that I'm unfamiliar with. Um, and I wanted to keep it simple. So when we made ours, it was like I just wanted to make it online. You know, just go through a company like Disc Makers, because at the end of the day, they're kind of cheap to make per unit. Authoring our graphic designer did. So CJ, who's in the movie Blood Gorge and Cruel for that matter, he's a comic book designer and a graphic designer and just a fucking whiz, and apparently authors DVDs and stuff too. And I'm sure he could do a Blu-ray, but I was just like, let's keep it simple and we'll do a DVD. So we went through Disc Makers. I had CJ author the thing, and he crushed it. The menu screen looks great. You know, he put the little special features in there and just made it look like legit as hell. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I think I gave him $40 for it, maybe, for authoring the thing. And I was just, it was a cool experience because, like, to have it and to be like, man, my brother, my best friend, my fiance, my best friend CJ, just like he authored this, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a soulless move that where it's like a drag and drop on the internet. So though we did go through a company, we did everything in house just because like one of us always kind of has the knowledge. It's never me, but one of us does. As far as the Blu-ray goes, Feature Video took care of all of that, and I couldn't tell you how to author a Blu-ray, but I'm really glad that somebody else like grabbed the reins for that because I did just get my copy too. It's been a little while, but because he put it out a couple months ago. So to finally get it in the mail and be like, "Oh my god, this looks so sick." It feels cool, man, to have somebody else reach out to you and be like, "Let me put this out." Really quick story about that. Do you know who J.R. Bookwalter is? Like really independent horror filmmaker. Oh, he did a movie called The Dead Next Door. He did a movie called Bloodletting and a whole bunch of really awesome like 80s and 90s just shot on video or like trashy horror movies. They're so sick. He was screening his new movie in Detroit and I was out there and this guy Matt from Future Video was there like on their tour with them and I brought Blood Gorge posters that I just like laid out on a table to give away to people at this event and he picked it up and he's like, "Is this your movie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it's coming out on YouTube tomorrow night. It just was so coincidence see that it was the very next day. And I handed him a poster and he was like, "Cool, I'll check it out." And I was like, "Sure, bud." And then the very next night at 7 o'clock, we put it up at 6 p.m. And the very next day at 7, he's like, "Hey man, I want to put out Blood Gorge. I thought it was awesome." So, that was another thing that really got me feeling like, ooh, maybe we're doing something okay, not right or perfect, but we're I know a lot of other filmmakers who don't really just meet somebody instantly that wants to put their movie out. And that's not a flex or anything. It's just like it was a little signal to me that maybe we're doing an all right thing. Especially because the first one was that way too, where it's like I reached out to somebody and they instantly wanted to put it out, whether or not it's content. Um but yeah, it's just like meeting people and giving shit away and people in Austria thought it was sick and they wanted to put it up. We just put it out for free on YouTube and then more and more people wanted to do a physical release for it, which was really nice. Very fun.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your upcoming feature film, Helmare. You said that you told me previously that you're doing some crowdfunding for it. How's that experience been for you so far?
We did an Indiegogo. We were hoping for $10,000. I mean, I knew we weren't going to make $10,000, right? But we just put it out there and we were like, maybe, But the whole thing ultimately is going to be filmed probably with like $8,000. We raised just over 5,000 with the Indiegogo, and I'm just going to pump about the difference out of it like from my wallet. So we'll see. I think everyone's kind of working again for scale unless something happens with this thing, and by scale I mean pizza and $50 type of thing. But it's my friends who were in these other movies, and now it's kind of like, all right, let's take this one serious. So Blood Gorge they're each incrementally getting better, right? The first thing, let's just go for it. The second thing was like, all right, let's focus, but we'll only take 3 or 4 days on it. And now this one is like, we're going to give ourselves a week and a half to film a movie. We're going to film it with 10 times more than we've ever filmed a movie before. We're going to buy a great camera. We're going to get a couple actors. So I'm just trying to figure out how to properly delegate what little money we do have. Because I would still like to think that making a movie with $8,000 is like no budget whatsoever.
I was actually going to my next question was actually going to be how did you come up with that number?
$8,000. It was kind of I started with like the main things first. It's like we need this camera, and we're probably going to spend X amount on it, and then it's how much can we afford for practical special effects, because that's what I really want to shine in this. Just like in Blood Gorge, we literally spent $50 of the $600 budget was just picking up some odds and ends, and Kate just crushed it. So I'm really hoping with Helmare and a couple $1,000s, it's like let's amp it up a little bit. and especially with more time, so she can fabricate some stuff, some heads and some arms and whatever. So, camera, uh, a notable actor and special effects material were like at the top of the list. And then everything else is just kind of like, what can I get to feed everybody and to pay everybody for at least their time for being a part of this thing. And I came up with about $8,000. We could always do more if we had 20 grand, 30 grand. But realistically, without going broke and without begging people for their money, their hard-earned money, I figured I would just put up an Indiegogo and see what people were willing to help out with, and then just tackle the rest of it from there. But I don't want to go. You hear horror stories about people like maxing out credit cards or people just spending their life savings on a movie that does nothing. And it's like, in my head, it's like if Blood Gorge with zero money can get people from Austria's attention, big or small, and a couple of distributors in America's attention, big or small, and get it streaming on a platform or two or three. I think with a bigger budget, if we focus and delegate properly, no one's going broke.
$5,000 is still a lot of money to, get from people. Like, that's still pretty impressive. So what perks did you end up offering for your campaign? And, what ended up being the most successful there?
Thank you, by the way, because I really didn't know if we'd make even $5,000. I thought ultimately, I was like, if we get 3, I'll be happy. Because I was like, I could just sell some shit at my house to come up with a couple $1,000s and then put in a couple thousand on top of it. But whatever, I'm glad we made 5. Like, it really was a relief, a sigh of relief washed over me, We did like the t-shirt packet or packages. We did the Blu-ray thing. We did the, the props that we're selling ahead of time. We did Helmer's head so the idea is Helmer is a horse-headed killer that it's kind of like a meta movie, right? The movie within the movie is called Helmer. It's about a guy that rents a movie called Helmer, and in it is a horse-headed killer who's killing people, but he and his friends who are watching this movie get sucked into the movie during an electrical storm. And in the movie, they not only have to fight off the horse-headed killer, but the villains of the trailers that precede the movie. So we sold Helmer's head, before anybody's even seen it, I guess. Somebody bought that. I think it was like the first thing to go. I don't know why, but I'm so thankful that somebody would drop a couple $100s on a movie prop. They have no idea what it's going to look like or what it's about or anything. So I couldn't gauge it, honestly. It was weird to see what people were interested in. I think the most popular, was probably like the Blu-ray or the t-shirt, but the weird things went first. A good friend of mine, Christian, he bought our like executive producer thing because he's been like trying to get into filmmaking and stuff, and he edits and he helped me out with some editing and technical stuff with Cruel, the Cross Village Encounter. So he threw his name on the movie as our executive producer, and he dropped $1,000. My friend Sebastian dropped $1,500, and we still were able to come up with 3,000 from other people. Is kind of crazy. And there's a bunch of other producer credits in the movie and stuff. I think a lot of people really wanted their name attached, which makes me, really, it's kind of, I got emotional a couple times seeing that people really wanted to be a part of it in that way and not just get something physical in return. Although I'm probably going to send them all a bunch of shit too, but it's just one of those things that, man, yeah, to producer credit, executive producer credit, like, props from the movie they've never seen, just stuff like that. And when that stuff goes, it just really means a lot. But yeah, and then I guess we raised like $3,000 something $100 after that, and it was just really nice because we only have like one form of social media that I'm promoting on. So I didn't think there'd be that many, you know, people who want their name in the credits type of thing.
Where do you hope to take your filmmaking career? Like, are you looking to continue making films? Because I know you said you don't feel like you're a filmmaker, but you're definitely a filmmaker. So I'm curious, like, what's your outlook on filmmaking as a whole? Is it something that you're just kind of, just do, just be a filmmaker? Or are you trying to make a career out of it? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
I think being a filmmaker is like a pipe dream, like as a career. I I've come from like playing music and stuff and doing like other endeavors all my life where it's like these are all pipe dreams. I know I'm never going to be a famous X, whatever it is. Um and I wouldn't ever want something like that. It'd be nice if someone was like, here's $1 million, go make a movie. Like, yeah. But I know something like that is the lottery, essentially. So I'm not holding my breath for anything. But in that world where it's like when you're trying to make music or whatever, you have to make your demo tape first. You know what I'm saying? And Cruel, the Cross Village Encounter was my demo tape. And then you have to make an EP, like a studio version of that now. And that was Blood Gorge. And now it's like time for your feature length album, kid. And that's going to be Hellmare. So with that, we're trying to just secure something a little bit more official, and see if anybody takes notice. I'm not holding my breath, but it would be nice to be able to make another one shortly after. So if this comes out and people resonate with it to any degree, I would love to like work on one of these other scripts I have in my head. You know, I've even started laying down some words for other scripts, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, you should really be focused on this one movie you're trying to make right now and cut it out. So this is something I definitely could imagine myself doing, but it's like I have to bust ass working 45 hours a week just to be able to find the time and the money to do this on my own. Cause again, I'm not getting paid. And I want to get to a point to where it's like I can pay my friends and actors that are going to be in this like respectfully and properly. But I'm here's hoping. Would I like to make it a career? Yes. Do I believe it's possible? Probably not. This is the short answer.
Victor, thank you so much for being with me here today. I mean, this was awesome. We'll definitely have to follow up and see where Hellmare goes from here. Go ahead and where can people find your films? Go ahead and plug away anything that you want to plug.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me though, Alex. I do like your channel a lot, and I appreciate you talking with filmmakers and giving out like knowledge and stuff because I don't know, I've been meeting more and more filmmakers in this realm, so it's nice to kind of like meet a guy that I saw on the internet one time. So appreciate you having me. Um, more than one time, but uh, our production company is called RFN Pictures. It's called like Real F***ing Nightmare Pictures, and we have an Instagram, we have a YouTube. My brother has been running the TikTok, if that's still active. I don't know if he's even posted anything in months, but RFN Pictures is where you can find us. Really active on Instagram, really active on YouTube, I guess. And yeah, you can grab our movies through me, or you can go to Future Video, or you can go to Terror Films, or you can go rent Cruel on Amazon, or watch it on Tubi for free, or watch it on YouTube for free. And then Blood Gorge will be streaming on probably all of those in the near future. But if you're interested in Hellmare, hit me up if you wanted to know more.
I want to give another huge shout out to Victor for coming onto the channel and talking with me and how he was so candid about, his experience with making films as well as how he was able to get his movie out into the world. Again, be sure to check out all of his stuff, which will be linked in the description below. And if you want to help support this channel, you can do so by subscribing, liking, and watching all of my new videos. I also have my own feature film, Cashing Out, which will be linked in the description. And if you want to see other awesome interviews with other filmmakers and people in the industry, I'll have some linked somewhere here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.